How's that for a thumbnail? That's actually a real picture from a bathroom in Antwerp that I thought it was just too funny to not use this for, not use that for this video. So you've probably seen these gigantic menus, and if you want to build these in Bubble, it's really, really simple. I'm going to show a couple of ways to do it. So here's a quick demo of what I'm going to show you. One is on hover with a 100% gigantic menu that you can add whatever to. So it's going to stay active until you hover away from it. And the second one is on click. So if you wanted something that was smaller and right near one of the buttons or some other object on your page, you can do that. And then as you click away, then it disappears. So let's take a look at how this is built. I'm going to do the hover version first. Both of these are using the group focus element in Bubble, and you could use whatever type of group that you want. So if you wanted to do an accordion kind of expand collapse, you could just use a regular group and then set it to collapse when it's not visible, and then that would push the whole page down. But suppose you want to do a popover, you'd have to use either the group focus element or a floating group to be able to do that really, really quickly. So this is a group focus, and the benefit of using this is you get a reference element to anchor it to, which means it's automatically going to align it to whatever thing in Bubble you want to align it to. So I've got this set to align to the group header, which is this entire black banner across the top, but I've set the offset to -30, so it moves up a little bit, and it will also cover this little triangle thingy that gives you that nice little look so you know what menu it is that you've actually hovered. So first the button. So the button is inside of a group, and the little triangle is just a shape underneath, and it's rotated 45 degrees. I don't have it set to collapse when hidden, otherwise you'd get kind of a little bump up and down, but you could use a floating group inside of there instead of using a shape. I just find it's easier to do a shape, and it looks the same basically from a user perspective. So there's one little trick with using group focus. There's no way to show and hide these based on whether or not an action has been applied to another thing in Bubble. So let's just take a look at that. If, for example, I wanted to show this when this button is hovered, I can't do that with a condition. So I can say, for example, when the main menu set list button is hovered, there's no action here to make this thing visible. So you have to do that in a bit of a different way, but it still is pretty simple. So if you go over to your workflow, you're going to need a do when action. So when you click to add an event, there is a general action here, do when condition is true. This is the one you want to use. And the condition that you want to use is you want to make sure you're running this every time. So every time you hover on that button, it will show. And the constraint you want to set is you want to do this every time, but only when that main menu set list button is hovered, and that's what's going to make it display. Now the group focus automatically does a fade in and out, so you don't have to use an animation or anything like that. And what I'm going to do here is just show this set list menu. So I just want to show that group focus. Now to make the hover not jump around a little bit, so if you take a look at this menu, again, when you hover over this, you can go all the way through and you don't have to worry about the menu disappearing. And the way that you do that is I set a condition to make it disappear. So again, I'm using the do when condition, and I want this to happen every time, but only do this when the set list button is not hovered and the menu itself is not hovered and the group header isn't hovered. Otherwise, you'd get some weird things where if I did this and then moved over to the left here, it would disappear. So I can even do that. I can get rid of this condition here. So if I'm only doing, if you're hovering the button or the menu itself, you'll see when I move off the menu. So it's going to, because when I move the cursor right here, I'm technically hovering over the group header up at the top, so it's going to disappear. So you'd have to do a quick jump your mouse cursor down and try and get it. So that's just one little thing to be aware of, and this will vary depending on the design of your page. So let's just put that back to normal. Now I'll show you how to do the on click one. So click on it and the menu is going to show here, and then if I shrink this down a little bit, you'll see how it will work on smaller screens. Same thing, it's always aligning to that button, and then once you get really small before the mobile menu pops up, same thing here. So it's always going to be visible and on the page. So really the only difference between doing it on hover and clicking on it is just one simple workflow action. So let's just take a look at the properties of this menu first. This is anchored to that main menu button. So this is, it will automatically align it to that. So if I move this over, you can see it's going to move over here because I've aligned it to the set list button, but I don't want to do that. I want this to be the Find Bands button. Properties are pretty simple. You can use the offset top and left to kind of move it around where you want. So if you wanted to move it back a little bit from the button, you can do that as well. I'm just going to leave this at 0 so it shows there. And then all of your other layout options are basically whatever you want to do to style that thing. Now, because it's just a regular group, you can put anything you want in it. I've got the little search button and a repeating group here that just generates the artists. And it's a simple on-click workflow, and that is it. So edit workflow, and you can use simply show, or I'm just using the animate option here. So you've got whatever animations in Bubble that you want to use for it, and it is as simple as that. So now this is just going to fade in, and then because it is a group focus, whenever you click away, it automatically disappears. So you don't need another action to hide it. All right, so that's all there is to it. You can apply this basically anywhere else you want on the site. So if you want little pop-out windows and stuff like that, you can use the group focus elements. You can anchor it to whatever object in Bubble that you want. Configuration options are pretty easy, and the workflow is super simple to do this. So remember to hit like and subscribe. You get notified when new tutorials come out. Thanks for watching.